Hey, Karma, what's going on? Hold on, give me a sec. Got to put the lip balm stuff on to keep me from getting chocolate lips. It's odd how you can see like an episode of SpongeBob maybe once or twice and it will stay in your mind forever. I still remember that weird SpongeBob episode where they did a parody of Kill Bill. And it was all because they wanted SpongeBob to buy a timeshare. Hold on. Gotta make sure my lips are straight. You don't know who may be watching. It's been a long time since I watched SpongeBob. Yeah, it's been a long time since I watched SpongeBob too. I haven't even seen any of the movies that came out. Not the one where he was in the real world or that newer 3D one that came out. But that's not what we're here to talk about today. We are not here to talk about SpongeBob. We're here to talk about the majesty that is My Hero Academia. So, lastly, we ended with My Hero. Shigaraki just laid waste to everything. And then it ended with Shigaraki getting on a recorder, speaking to Gigantomachia, saying, it's time to destroy. And now we get to see what happens, because in the last panel, it has Endeavor launching towards Shigaraki. So let's see what goes down. So first panel, we get Endeavor rocketing towards Shigaraki, and then we got Shigaraki just glaring at him. Chapter 274, Search. And then he's saying, get 1-4. And then Endeavor saying, hells. Oh, and is he searching? Curtain! And then Endeavor just covers it in fire. Are you late? I literally just started, so don't worry about it, MHA. That's a whole blanket of flash fire. You can't run away. And then, what's going on? Shigaraki's still there. He's sizzling under the heat. I can't let this guy take another step forward. And Shigaraki, out of all the things that you can make out of his flames, all you can still see are Shigaraki's eyes. He's gotta be neutralized fast. Jet! And before that happens, Shigaraki literally launches himself at Endeavor with a hand outstretched. And of course, Endeavor dodges that. No ordinary person could function without protection in this heat. And that speed, right after he got burned. He regenerated. Yo! Shigaraki can regenerate himself. And then he brings his fists around to spin and try and hit Shigaraki's back. And he manages to hit him straight into the ground. Attention all! Attention all! Endeavor here. I've engaged Shigaraki at the hospital ruins. Anyone who can move without touching the ground needs to form a perimeter. And while he's grabbing on, a hand comes out to try and grab him. But then Endeavor grabs that hand and says, no touch. And then there's a flash coming from his hand. And then all of a sudden, there's like an explosion. Wait, what just happened? And it sends Endeavor flying off to the side. The quirks that Master had stocked up. It feels like I've been reborn with it all. This power. For the next 4 months, you'll endure hellish agony. But if you can overcome it, you'll find that you hold everything in the palm of your hand. And wow, okay, so all this is going on, and in a chest, he starts to take out another hand that he can put over his face. The quirks that Master had stocked up, it feels like I've been reborn with it all, this power. So then why don't I feel satisfied? Out of everything that All for One sought to possess, the one power that didn't behave as he saw fit. One for Yo! Out of everything that All for One sought to possess, the one power that didn't behave as he saw fit was one for all. One for all. He's searching for one for all. He wants to take it! Something inside is urging me on, telling me to go after it. To get one for all. Oh, snap! And then he's searching. He's searching for Midoriya. I'm not even looking at chat right now. I am focused on this right now. One for all. Say what? Say what? One for what? Whatever helps coming your way. And then Midoriya looks on because he just heard that. It's down there. Yo! And then we're at the yo! We're going to what is her name? Not Pixie Bob. The one that had her search quirk taken. Because we're at the Wow Wow Pussycats headquarters up in the mountains, and this is her quirk. This search quirk belonged to her. It's incredibly perturbing. If only I still had my search quirk, I could be helping everyone. And then Burnin, wait! And then we're right back to the evacuation. Burnin, wait! You kids evacuate with the remaining heroes. Listen to the authorities. We gotta get farther away. And then, what the heck? What just happened? Oh, wow! Yo, Shigaraki just crouched down and launched himself into the air. Like, think Hulk, but he launched with enough force to literally crater the one sole platform out of the devastation that he just destroyed. And he just launched himself into the air. He's heading for the evacuees. Expand the battle perimeter. Start evacuating the city outskirts too. Hurry, every second counts, because that thing is coming, and when it gets here, it's all over. No way. Funkman's really gone. More later, this evacuation's a race against time. Sugar and Midoriya's not even saying anything. Kitty Cat Nerdy, ooh, good to see you. Haven't seen you here before. Welcome. I am so in depth to this chapter, so pardon me if I don't read any of your comments right now. I am just headfirst into this because this chapter is mad, and he's just looking on at all the people running away. If you told them, there's no denying that they have to devote a lot of people just to protect you. That's Bakugo. If you told them there's no denying that they have to devote a lot of people just to protect you, because heroes are supposed to protect everyone. Kachan, you've already made up your mind, right? Yeah, I gotta prioritize the people's safety. First we hear one for all, and then he's heading our way. That ain't exactly solid proof, but still, you know you'd better start moving. Huh? Where are you going? Says Todoroki. I forgot something! I'll be right back! And then Uraraka's just watching on. I'm not visible to the naked eye at that distance through that mountain of dust, so assuming he's got another way to track me down, assuming he's able to pick out one for all among a big crowd. This way, this way, this way. And this is Shigaraki still launching himself in the air, just sailing towards them. Either that or he's just straight up flying because that's what All for One has. Deku here, sorry for using the private frequency, but there's a chance that Shigaraki is after me specifically. Maybe I can lead him to a deserted area. I'll wreck him! And this is Bakugo saying all this. Permission to keep in contact, requesting permission to keep in contact this way. Next chapter hits next week. And that's it for that chapter. Whoo! Okay, that's the end of the chapter, but hold on. Where is your name? Your name's on the tip of my tongue. Ragdoll! That's her name, Ragdoll. I keep forgetting everyone. Why does Pixie Bob stand out to me the most? Mandalay, Pixie Bob, Ragdoll, and Tiger. But, wow, okay, so we got Endeavor using his Hell's Curtain on Shigaraki. It doesn't affect him because he can regenerate. And even without touching Endeavor, he used a quirk that literally just blew Endeavor off to the side. And all this is going on, and he's searching for One for All. And I feel like, ooh, here's a good parallel. I see like All for One's quirk akin to that of Sylar's ability from the TV show Heroes. Even though he could gain all this power, there's a hunger in him that wants more. Specifically for Shigaraki, there's a hunger and desire in him for him to have One for All. Just like in Sylar, there's a hunger and ability to take super strong abilities. Wow, that's another TV show I can draw parallels with. May have to look into the Hero show again. But Shigaraki just starts using the quirks that All for One has been using. The search quirk, this explosive quirk that he can shoot out of his hand, this regeneration quirk, just instantly. All his knowledge that All for One gained for using these quirks, Shigaraki can straight up use them right now, which means that he now has full access and can use every single quirk that All for One has pretty much used and stockpiled and perfected. It means Shigaraki can, from the get-go, use them all now. The thoughts of him having to be used to that power, that's out the window, because he knows how to use them all. He knows which ones to use, which means he can use every quirk that is in One for All, stockpiled, whenever he wants. Shigaraki is now the most OP person in My Hero Academia right now, other than Midoriya. And Midoriya is close, but he still has to learn how to use all the other quirks. Now, here's one thing I've been thinking about, and I kind of wanted to bring it up. You know how it's been saying that Midoriya has to learn all the other quirks of all the previous successors of One for All. And I was thinking like, oh, he gets Nana Shimura's quirk that allows him to fly, but it doesn't say that it's a full-on flight quirk. Well, here's a way that he could still be able to use the flight. If it's just a floating quirk that just makes him hover in the air, he can still use One for All in the way that All Might used wind pressure to create projectiles, and even in one way when he was fighting both Bakugo and Midoriya back in the UA, can use that to propel himself through the air. So he can literally, even if Nana Shimura's quirk only allows him to float stationary, he can use the power of One for All to literally punch in one direction and propel himself wherever he wants to go. So that's still flying. So just in case anyone thinks that him just having a floating quirk may just allow him to float because it doesn't say specifically that she can fly, that's one way he can get around. And not only that, he can use Black Whip to literally just pull a Spider-Man and just pull himself through the air while he's floating. You remember Deku versus Overhaul, he was literally flying without floating. He was jumping off the air. Exactly. So now that's actually less on him, because when he learns to perfect the floating quirk of Nana Shimura, he doesn't have to rely on using more than enough power to cause himself to float. He can just float and then use the power of One for All to propel him in a certain direction. And then if he wants to stop, he can either punch in one direction or use Black Whip to stop him. He is so versatile with all these quirks that he has right now. But I'm still saying that Midoriya still needs to get the rest of these powers under wraps, because Shigaraki is already using his quirk to try and find One for All, because that hunger in his body that desires One for All. And using Ragdoll's search quirk, he's able to find quirks within people, and specifically One for All, because in these panels, it shows One for All it shows people that he's searching for the people who have quirks in them, specifically people that he has quirks that have quirks in them. With the search quirk, it shows them as sparkling lights. Now, in this one panel, when he's searching for one for all, it shows people who have normal quirks as like regular sparkles of light, but it specifically shows one for all as literally like the most elaborate and most brightest looking star among the people that he's searching for. So among all the quirks, one for all stands out because it is like multifaceted and multi-pointed. It's a multi-pointed star of light that he's searching for. So among all the things that All for One could not take and could not take for himself and could not control, One for All is that quirk and that desire, that drive that is now in Shigaraki, and that is the only thing Shigaraki is thinking of right now. He may have thought of, telling Gigantomachia to get ready to destroy everything, but now he is single-mindedly thinking of acquiring One for All for himself. Wonder how All for One got made. Well, it was basically, here's a short story of it. All for One for itself is take the quirks of others and either use it for yourself or give it to other people. Mind you, it does with a lot of reactions to All for One. It buffered again. Go ahead and continue talking. It's obvious as long as I want to during this, because this buffering is that gain up to. So I'm just going to keep this. What was I talking about? So catch up to what I was saying. Wonder how All for One got made. Well, it's back. It's just the quality and stuff like that. My internet has been acting really funny, you guys. I'm using Wi-Fi, and I tried using a landline for One Piece, where it kept saying that my connection was unstable. It kept saying that, and it was kept correcting it, for everyone, ruining the immersion of what I don't know if it's something that's specific to my house, about my neighborhood, but this has been happening a couple of weeks now. So apologies for kind of ruining the mood that you may have gained this reaction. It is my sincerest apology. I'm sorry that you had to suffer through those couple of moments. To go back to what I was before, wonder how All for One got made. For what we know of All for One, whereas I said All for One, not One for All. It's coming back slowly. It's back. Okay, good. I'm just gonna go over All for One. Quirk itself, then just give my my overall review for this chapter. It's amazing. It really is. Like, Shigaraki just straight up Hulk jumped out of the area, making a beeline for where Midoriya is, because he doesn't know that Midoriya has All for One, but he knows that All for One is in that direction. And not many people know about One for All. He knows, did I say All for One is in that direction? He does not know that Midoriya is the one that has One for All, but he knows One for All is in that direction. And not many people know about One for All itself. But going into what the quirk actually is, All for One allows the user to steal other people's quirks and wield these stolen powers as their own to replicate them into someone else, or to stolen powers as their own, or to replicate them into someone else. The process of giving and taking away quirks is done through touch. People who have their quirks stolen become quirkless, losing any sort of abnormal features if they happen to be mutant types. When quirks are stolen, the victim becomes disoriented and immobile for a short time. Meanwhile, quirkless people who receive a quirk through All for One become capable of manifesting all of its attributes. Rarely, a quirk granted by this ability can blend together with the original quirk of the target, creating an entirely new one, as shown with One for All. All for One can be used to combine several quirks in order to create devastating techniques, which would normally not be possible with the usage of only one quirk. All for One hints that his wish is for Tomura Shigaraki to inherit his quirk, which he does, implying that transferring All for One itself to another person is possible. This was revealed to have been already done by All for One some time ago, who had it extracted from his body to be passed on to Tomura while retaining a copied, weaker version of his original quirk. Then we see the weakness of it. It does not say the history of it, but it does say the usage. All for One, the man who wields All for One, wants to use his quirk to dominate Japanese society over a century ago, using his quirk to take away unwanted quirks and give them to those who needed them in exchange for favors. Eventually, All for One's user would amass a large following of loyal subordinates that carried every single one of his wishes. Let's go up to the weaknesses, because there is limitations to this quirk. There are some limitations to the quirk. Not all recipients of a quirk for All for One are able to handle the strain of gaining them. Subsequently, they may become mindless dolls, Nomu, who are not able to speak or think for themselves. The effectiveness of the quirks that are stolen by All for One depends on his own abilities. He stated that he did not want to steal Best Genus Fiber Master, as it required too much training and experience to truly master, and implies that he prefers to steal quirks with straightforward abilities that don't require much thinking to use, just point and shoot. All for One is incapable of stealing One for All from its wielder, as that quirk can only be passed on if the present wielder wills it. So even if Shigaraki turns up to Midoriya and tries to take the quirk, he cannot take the quirk. It cannot be taken. The uniqueness of the One for All quirk is it has to be given willfully. If Midoriya says, no, you're not taking the quirk, Shigaraki ain't taking it. It doesn't matter how many times he tries to embed himself into Midoriya, or if he kills him, he's not, we all know he's not going to kill Midoriya. But it doesn't matter how hard Shigaraki tries, he's not going to forcefully take the quirk from Midoriya. That's the uniqueness of One for All. It is the one quirk that All for One cannot take, which is also why he desired it so much. And the reason why the Nomu exists. Because when you think about it, Nomu are failed individuals to try and replicate what One for All is. So, since he desired it so much, that desire is now in Shigaraki. But he's not going to be able to take that from Midoriya. Savior Gaming, you're late. Yeah, you are. Apologies for that. I'm going to keep this brief so that way it doesn't buffer anymore. What if Shigi threatens Deku's family and tries to get One for All, trying to force Deku to give it to him? There's a lot of things you got to take into account here. Firstly, he has to confirm that it is Midoriya, because as of right now, he does not know that Midoriya has One for All, I think. I could be drawing a blank on that. I may be drawing a blank on that. But it would have to go through, he would have to find out where his mom stays, his family stays. He would have to find out all this. He had to find out all that. A lot of meticulous planning, tenacity spanning that he'd have to go through in order to make Midoriya give up One for All. But I honestly feel that it's not going to go that route, because it seems so contrived to what he's currently doing right now. Shigaraki is saying that he's going there himself. Let's say Shigaraki gets it. Could they ever take it back from him? Okay, so I feel like the only way that anyone can take any quirks from Shigaraki is if they use the erasure bullets, or if they have a racer head with him. That's the only thing. Or if for some odd reason Shigaraki wants to pass on that quirk to another person, specifically One for All, if he were to take it, which, let's just face it, he's not going to take it. You can't take it by force. So, but that's the only way. And then even then, those are very far-fetched ways that could happen. But at the same time, like I keep saying, He's not gonna just take it from him. You can't. It's not. It doesn't matter how hard you beat up Midoriya. You're not going to literally take it from his body. You can't. He can't just. No matter what quirk All For One had in his repertoire, none of it is going to be able to take One For All from Midoriya at any point. It's not a quirk that can be taken by force. So no matter how hard Shigaraki tries, he's not taking it. Maybe Shigaraki should threaten Midoriya's family. Like I said, he has to find out who Midoriya's family is and where they stay. Like I also said, meticulous planning, tenacity spanning, decades of denial is simply why I'll be king undisputed, respected, saluted, and seen for the villain I am. Yes, my teeth and ambitions are bad. Be prepared. That is pretty much Shigaraki's whole thought process right now. But it's all focused on getting One For All. But that's pretty much it. But going through the weaknesses of All For One again, is incapable of stealing One For All from its wielder. Does All Might still have some of One For All? He has residual. Like, since he already passed it on to Midoriya every time he used his muscle form, it caused him to use up the remaining power. So whenever he turns into his muscle form, he literally turns back into his frail form because he literally has no way to sustain it. So since One For All is already in Midoriya, the same power that would allow All Might to keep his muscle form, it's basically gone. So whenever All Might, for those brief panels and brief moments, turns into his muscle form, it's like using a battery that's on 1%, and it's like using a battery on 1%, and you're constantly using it for one thing, and that one thing drains the battery, and then the battery recharge, and then you do that same thing again, and he's literally using the 1% of power he has left, and that's only enough for him to bring it up for a second, and then it goes away. So he's literally operating on the last bit of battery juice that he has concerning the One For All power in his body. It's basically gone. But back to this, All For One is incapable of stealing One For All from its wielder, as that quirk can only be passed on if the present wielder wills it. Thus, wielders of One For All can act as a natural counter of sorts against All For One's ability to steal other quirks. However, he was able to overcome this limitation in the past against previous wielders of One For All due to the sheer number of quirks he possessed. So, he only overcame that limitation because he gained more power. It's not saying that he overcame this limitation, that means he can steal it now. No, that means he only overcame this limitation because he only had like a limited amount of quirks at the time. But since he's beaten all the previous wielders of One For All and gained more quirks, in retrospect, he kind of doesn't really need it when you think about it. But he's only taken it because of the desire that All For One wanted and coveted it so much. So that desire to have a power that you basically don't need, that's basically in Shigaraki. It's been discussed by Dr. Ujiko that over time, the large number of accumulated quirks within All For One was becoming dangerous to the user itself, another weakness. While it seemed that All For One could allow the user to safely control any number of quirks, there is a limit to how much the user can control without it adversely affecting them, like the Nomu. Darumo went on to state that if the memory, the amount of power of a quirk, exceeds the hardware, the body of the quirk user, then it will cause serious problem. If there's more power in a quirk than Shigaraki's body can handle, it will begin to affect him. This is somewhat similar to One For All, which requires rigorous physical training for the user to use it to its fullest extent. So like One For All For One's their body needs to be used to using a certain power, otherwise it could very well affect them. Think Kevin from Ben 10, too much power and your body is split up into different segments of different abilities and whatnot, and then you spend the rest of the series in a black Speedo while the rest of your body is just covered in different types of elements. So that's pretty much it for the weaknesses of All for One. But this chapter as a whole, we got such good chapters of My Hero Academia, and we got such good chapters of One Piece today. And we're not going on break for either one of these chapters that we normally would be going on. What if Amy Jane? No, I have to go. Don't worry, I'm ending it right here. I'm just giving my review. All these chapters have been amazing, especially these chapters of My Hero Academia. They've been straight fire, like absolutely amazing. Every single chapter of My Hero Academia has been, beyond a shadow of a doubt, some of the best manga chapters I have ever read. And that's saying a lot because I've been reading a lot of manga. But overall, this story, like, we need some good chapters in this. We need some good anything in this time, Karma. We really do. That's why I'm doing this. That's why I'm doing this. To, if I can, lift people's spirits, because the world needs a lot more of it right now, especially right now. I'm not promoting anything. I'm not trying to say this or trying to say that, even though I have made a video on certain things. But my job here is to keep you guys entertained and to keep you guys happy in these very trying times. And I'm glad that we have chapters like this that can keep us happy and make us feel good about ourselves and just get excited. Give us something to look forward to. Something that makes us happy that we can look forward to next week. Like, oh, wow, this was such a good chapter. I can't wait to see what's next. A prospect to go after, something to aspire to read at the very least. That's something that'll make us happy when we look forward to and whatnot. The world needs more of it. It really does. So I'm just going to continue to do my part on what I'm doing here. And the main job is to entertain and keep people happy. Even in times like this, especially what we're going with in the US right now, we need more happiness. We need more positivity, because negativity is not going to do anything for anybody. Never has. And if it has, it never ends well. So I'm just going to continue to do my job to entertain as much and as often as I can. So that's all I got for this chapter. This chapter was amazing. Oh my goodness. We got two chapters of One Piece. We got chapters of One Piece and My Hero, and they are both beyond amazing. And I am anxious to see what happens in next week's chapter. So overall, this chapter was a 10 out of 10, 100 out of 100, a plus ultra out of plus ultra. It was amazing. It was great. Loved it. So this is where I'm going to end it here for today, folks. If you have not read this chapter, by all means, read it. It is amazing. It's really good. Even though I read through these chapters and I give you a synopsis of what's going on, there's nothing like looking at these chapters for yourselves and seeing what I'm talking about, so you guys can understand just why I make the facial expressions I make when I look at certain things that are going on. So with that being said, everyone continue to stay safe out there. If you're going outside, if you're protesting or whatever, just please be safe. Promote positivity, because that's the only way we're going to make it through this. Please be safe. Love on your family members. Love on the people that you care for, because tomorrow is not promised. Not even this next second is promised to us. So, hope y'all enjoyed. Can't wait to see you all in my next video. So have a fantastic day. And once again, as always, later, peoples. Yeah, don't loot. Do not loot. It's not good to loot. Don't loot!